Module number 6. Module number 6. All right, so this free consultation guide is something I created a little while ago to give coaches something to follow. Now, this is a template. It's not a script. I would expect you to shift your language or maybe even the order or take something away or add something to this based on you, who you are, what you know about your seeker, etc. So please feel free to personalize this in some way. However, when it comes to changing the overall template, prove that this doesn't work before you change the template, right? The pieces that I'm giving you are the main components of this consultation guide. So what I don't want you to do is go, oh, I don't like the way that is, and I don't want to expose people's pain, and I don't want to do this. And so you just come up with your own framework, not based on evidence. Based on evidence, that's fine. Shift and add and remove and so forth. But if you don't have anything that you're positive has been working, then just follow this guide. So the first thing we do is a quick connection, just a simple, hey, how are you doing? Where do you live? I saw your name came through with a 805 area code. Does that mean you're in California? Just something simple to kind of break the ice. A lot of times people come to these calls and they're very nervous. And so if we just give them some sort of simple greeting, then it helps calm those nerves. Then I like to ask, what is it they want out of this call so that we make sure that we're starting from the same page. And they might want something totally different than what you were going to provide, or they might surprise you with what it is that they want to get out of the call. Or they might just confirm with what the call is already designed to do, but asking them what they want out of the call, whether they give you a surprising answer or not, is important because it lets them know that you care about what they want, and it also starts the call with a baseline agreement of what you're here for. Then I like to ask for a short what's up session. I usually say something like, why don't you just give me, like a 2-minute version of what's going on in your life or your business. And I intentionally don't give them more direction than that because I want to listen to their language. Those of you that are in BCC or ECCP, you know how much we dive into language, how important it is to be a language cop. And giving people an open-ended question to talk about whatever it is they want to talk about is a perfect way for them to remove their filters of their language while they're just sharing whatever it is they're sharing. And that way you can pick up on anything that is significant. I tell them a 2-minute version because if they're going on and on and on and on, then I'll stop them and say, okay, that's good enough for now. Let me just ask you a couple more questions. Or sometimes they're 3 or 4 minutes in and it's getting really good and I'm learning a ton by their language and I'll just let them talk. So this isn't a hard rule that you can't let anybody talk for more than 2 minutes. I give the 2 minutes to give me a reason to stop them later on if I've heard enough from what I hear and I already have everything that I want to get into the conversation. But you can keep them going if you are learning and you're listening to the language. And then number 4, I like to share the intentions of the call from my perspective, from the coach's perspective. So you can say something like, I'm going to provide you as much value as I can with the time that we have and help you blank. That could be the title of the call if you're very clear on what this call is, or you could just refer back to some of the things that they've already said at this point. I'm going to help you get a better handle on your relationship with your mom. Or I'm going to help you come up with a game plan to get it, whatever it is you want from your business, etc. And then open up the idea that you're interested in looking at a coaching relationship too. So you can say, plus I'm curious to see if you feel like we're a good fit, if I feel like we're a good fit to continue coaching together. How does that sound? At this point, at the beginning of the call, almost everybody's going to say yes to that last statement. And then we've put this idea of continuing coaching into the conversation. It's not something that we have to introduce later on in the call. And so once we get clear and open and we just have, a conversation with dignity and integrity, then people will appreciate that. A lot of people are afraid of asking about coaching because that's when their fears really get kicked up. As the coach, that's when their fears really pop up, and then the money conversation. And if you feel like it's a surprise, almost like, okay, now that we've talked for a half hour, 45 minutes, now I'm going to bring up the idea that we should do coaching. That's not a problem for the prospect generally. It's more of a problem for the coach, because if you haven't said anything and there's a fear in your head around having money conversations and a fear around your certainty or any of the other fears, a lot of times they'll come up when you just drop the idea later on in the call that you're interested in maybe looking into coaching with them. So it's much easier to just get that out early on in the call. And number 5, touch the pain. We had a pretty, I don't know, it wasn't a long discussion, but a significant discussion last week at ECCP about whether pain is necessary to purchase. And my experience is that for the most part it is, because people need leverage in order to hire a coach. And for most people, leverage has to come through pain. It's just the way the world works. It's the way that we are programmed. It's the way people talk. So philosophically, pain isn't necessary, but in reality, it generally is. That's been my experience, especially when we're looking into coaching. People need to realize that something isn't going well with their lives the way they are operating now. So there's a reason to hire a coach. So a few simple questions. What are your biggest challenges right now? Or what is all of this costing you? Or how does it make you feel in this situation, what have you? So the pain doesn't have to be lit up. The pain can be lower level intensity. It could just be irritation. It could be things that, people feel like they're wasting their life, but not from a deep level. It's just like, I got to get going. I really want to do this. And that's a form of pain. The other, the opposite column is pleasure. And that's actually the next one here, is to talk about their pleasure, talk about their desire. What is it that they want? And a few questions could be, what is it that you really want more than anything? What will that mean to you and your family if you were to lose the weight, or if you were to start a successful business, or if you were to quit your job, or what have you? How will that feel once you experience that? So what we're doing is we're just touching the two different emotional drives for humans. One is pleasure and one is pain. You don't have to dive super deep into either one of them unless you feel like it's appropriate based on the conversation. So be willing to do that if you have to, but you don't necessarily have to. So I don't want you to think that the connotation of pain is this deep-seated trauma. You don't necessarily have to go there. But there's always a pain point, just like Yolande just said. There's always some kind of pain point. Number 7, identify what the perceived obstacles are. I like to do this so that I understand where they're coming from and what they think the answer is. What do you think is standing in your way from achieving this? Or what do you think the answer is that you need to find in order to get everything that you want? Or what is that bridge that's going to take you from where you are right now to where it is you want to go? And then listen to what they say. Sometimes it's fascinating to hear what people think the perceived obstacles are. Sometimes they are so off base that you have to tell them. I appreciate that perspective. And what I've experienced is that's actually not the best way to achieve what it is that you're wanting to achieve. Now, that does a couple things. It establishes you as a credible expert, and it lets them know that what they're about to try probably isn't going to work. Assuming that they believe what you have to say. Somebody just unmuted themselves. So if you can remute yourself, I would appreciate it. And sometimes they are exactly right. I'm putting that in quotes according to what you think is the answer. So one of the things that we talk about on coaching is that the client's basically always right. Not in this case. In this scenario, if the client who wants to lose weight is just looking for a magical pill, let's say, to take so that they can, lose weight without changing their diet or workout routine or anything like that, they're not right unless they just want to continue the pattern of destruction and frustration. And so that's a scenario where you got to jump in as the coach, as the more credible person in this conversation, and say, really what we have to look at is A, B, and C. Now, you don't want to introduce things that you think might scare them. So you don't want to say things like, what we have to do is really heal your childhood trauma, unless it's already been established in that conversation that that's what they want to do. So you don't want to sell the tools in this case, but you want to let them know that there are other things that you might want to look at. So instead of saying, we need to heal your childhood trauma and we need to go back and change the beliefs that you have built up from being in an abusive home, or any of those things that might make them think, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to feel my pain and just sit in it like I did in therapy, or like other people told me, and it's going to be messy or whatever. Instead of giving them that, you can just back out a little bit as far as specificity, chunk it up and say, what we have to look at is, what are the drivers that are operating and influencing your decisions? What are some of the internal workings, whether they are beliefs or identities or anything else that's below the surface, that can actually help you make that change, rather than just searching for another pill, or rather than just trying to change your behavior like you've been trying, and almost nobody can apply that with any kind of consistency. So this is what we have to do, is really actually identify the source of the issue, right? But whenever we're in coaching conversations, we're constantly in rapport with the client. We're constantly checking in on what we think will be leverage for them or what we think will scare them. And this is why a document like this is a framework, but it's definitely not a script. Number 8, reverse the sale. What that means is just simply ask them, why is it that you chose me? Or why did you want to get on the phone with me specifically? Is there something about my work that you saw recently? Did you read something? Did you see something? And that lets you know what they're drawn to. And it also allows them, if they see it's a good fit, to basically start selling themselves. I chose you because I trust you. I remember a long time ago, I asked a woman this question, and it was a pretty big coaching package that we were discussing. And I said, why did you choose me? And she just said, because I trust you. Bingo. That was it. She didn't try to explain anything else. I didn't need to ask anything else. It was just very, very clear. Embedded in that statement is, I don't trust other people that I've talked to. So the sale was basically done at that point, because the conversation had gone well, and she trusts me. So awesome. And then number 9 is where you throw the offer in there. You can say something like, I have a coaching program that's designed to help people lose the weight consistently that they want and keep it off, or designed to help people start their coaching business, or designed to help people get closer with their family or friends or kids, or whatever it is that your product will help them do and what they're wanting. Just say, I have a coaching program that will help you do that, and I think it's a perfect fit for you. Do you want to hear about it? They will almost always say yes. I mean, if they just spent some time telling you that they want a certain outcome, and then you offer to discuss a way to give them that outcome, why would they say no at that point, right? They want to hear it, and you're giving them an option to say no if they don't. So just them saying yes is a form of permission for you to tell them all about the coaching program. And if they say no, which some of them might say, if they say no, then you don't have to worry about wasting your time talking about the coaching program. And that's fine too. Some people might just want this free call and they don't want anything more. Okay, great. I generally don't try to turn people around when they say no. I generally don't try to change their minds. I might ask a question like, why did you get on the phone if you're not interested in actually continuing, and keep it curious and not judgmental. But that lets me know that somebody is probably not a good fit, right? A few things on the free consultation process. You want to maintain advocacy for the prospect's best life. If you really truly are committed to helping people live their best lives, then when it comes for you to suggest a product for them, suggest a coaching package, you want to do it from this place of helping them achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. And you guys just spent however long talking about it. And so if you really believe that somebody needs to be in coaching for 6 months to heal something that they've got below the surface, and or to build a business on top of that, and or to do anything that's going to take a while, then tell them that. Say the best thing for you, if I can make a recommendation, the best thing for you would be to do coaching for 6 months based on everything that you told me. It's going to take a while. I don't really know what we'll get into once we start looking at different relationships or different environments that you have going on. But 6 months gives us the time to play with whatever comes up without feeling rushed. How's that sound to you? So give them a reason that you're going to make the recommendation that you're going to make, but keep it energetically coming from this place of advocacy. And we made this shift, I'd say 4 years ago in our company, where we started to energetically make recommendations and actually make recommendations in our language. And it was amazing how much that seemed to shift the salesperson individually, or the coach individually, as well as the prospect. Next one. People buy coaching when they trust and when they feel understood. They trust the process. They trust the coach. They trust the energy. They trust their intuition. And they generally need to feel understood. They don't need to understand you. They need to know that you understand them. And coaching is a unique thing. We've talked about that several times in these modules. Coaching is not just a widget. It's not just a commodity. It's not just, I'm going to pay you money and you're going to deliver some product to me. It's a relationship. So there has to be trust, and they have to believe that you can help them with whatever it is you guys just discussed. Now, as far as conversions go, I've learned a couple main things with conversions. The first one is they generally increase with more experience of your work. So if they've watched more YouTube videos, or if they've watched or read rather more articles from you, if they've seen you more on social media, if they've listened to your live videos more, if they've downloaded and consumed a free product, if they've bought lower priced products, if they've watched and attended webinars, if they've attended events, all of those are increases of their experience of your work. And the more experience they have of you, the more likely it is that they will pull the trigger and hire you as a coach. Secondly, increases or conversions rather usually increase with shorter calls. I could go on and on about this one. I won't make this a super long discussion, but when I'm on the phone for an hour, 2 hours for lower level programs, I usually decrease the conversion. So if I'm talking to somebody about BCC, let's say, which is a $500 program, or I'm talking to people about an audio package, which is a $100 program or less than that. The longer we go, the lower the conversions. Now, the caveat to this is the higher the price that you're discussing, the more connection you need generally. And that most of the time comes with longer calls. So this is it's an understanding. It's not a set in stone rule, but whatever it is that you're offering to people and whatever the price point is, keep that as a major consideration for how long your calls need to be. If I'm talking to somebody that is considering a long, high dollar private coaching program, I'll stay on the phone as long as they want. Because if they say yes to one of these packages, I mean, we're talking about dozens of hours together. And so if they need a few hours of my time to see if it's a good fit in order for them to come do a VIP day with me or a long coaching package over the phone, then that's just what's necessary. So there's a relative nature here between the amount of time and the amount of money that somebody's going to invest and what most of them need on the front end to experience and get that trust before they say yes. So this is all flexible according to these variables. And for the most part, shorter will trump longer when it comes to these calls. And then finally, remember, we said this earlier when we talked about dolphins and sharks, sell experiences, don't sell expectations. So mixed into this consultation guide should be some kind of experience that you give them. I didn't put it in there because I just didn't want to try to find the right place that it goes, because it's up to you and it's up to the conversation. It's up to the person. But whenever you can, give them value. Give them a coaching process if you can. Give them some actual goals that you can break down with them. Give them something that they can walk away with as an experience. And then it's much easier for them to want more of that experience than it is for you to sell some kind of expectation that they don't actually experience. Now, there's a full document that I posted in the group. Everything on the front of the document when it comes to the template is pretty much the same. I made a couple simple changes, I think, maybe a word here and there and minor things. But on the back, there's more of my thoughts around how to use the document and the inner game kind of stuff, right? So there's a little bit more on the full document, which I posted in the group.